So this is actually a topic that popped up on my Patreon Discord server, and it turned kind of into a discussion, and there were many different opinions that were somehow quite similar but still different. I had the feeling already there is not gonna be a very easy answer to this. So what do you think would Japanese think about us as foreigners wearing kimono as a Halloween costume? Well, I'm married to a Japanese, so I can easily get a Japanese opinion and just ask my husband. He's at work right now, so I thought let's take a stroll over to my neighbors, who are my in-laws, and ask my in-laws what they think about it. Let's go.こんにちは。あらあら。ごめんね。大した用事じゃないよ。変な質問聞きに来た。
よかった、ほら、天ぷら、芋の天ぷら。
あ、美味しそう。
食べていいよ。
変な質問聞きに来た。
なんだっけ。
外国人ってさ、海外に住んでる人、ハロウィンに着物着たいと思ったらどう思うの？コスチュームのハロウィン着たい。どう思うの？
この子はやっぱ日本のじゃないからね、もともとが。
何が？
その行事っていうか、ほら。
ハ
ロウィンって言われても私たちはピンとこない。
海外で住んでる外国人、別に日本に関係ない人は、着物を貸そうとして着物着たいと思ったらどう思う？
あんまり。
あんまり？
日本人として
じゃなくて外国の人が、
外国の人が
だからほらピシャッとするんじゃなくて変な
で
着付けをするんでしょ。
じゃあちゃんとした着付けやったら大丈夫？
それは着付け師の人が違和感があるんじゃない？ハロウィンで着物着てからなんか変な
着物着たいんだったら着てもいいんじゃない？
いただきます。
いただきます。
この間さ、話したでしょ？その着物ハロウィンコスチュームとしての。ケンちゃんはどう思ってるの？
別にいいんじゃないと思うけど。
そう？なんで？
あんまハロウィンがなんかよく分かってないからなんか何がいいか悪いかの判断がつかない。
今日お母さんと同じ話しに行ったんだけど、お母さん同じこと言ったんだよね。ハロウィンで聞いたらピンとこないって言ってた。
ハロウィンが分からないから、いいか悪いかも分からない。
なるほど。And what you have just heard is perhaps the most common opinion you will get on Japanese streets when you go out here and just ask people what they think about it. They will say, well, yeah, go ahead if you want to. I don't know what Halloween is anyway. And I think exactly that is the issue. Japanese people do very often not know what Halloween is, and especially they do not know how falsely Japanese culture is very often projected outside of Japan. So now I want to ask some of my friends and kimono influencers who have an expertise in kimono and Japanese culture. All of them have experienced Halloween outside of Japan. All of them do know how very often falsely Japanese culture is projected outside of Japan. And therefore they also know what a very innocent Halloween costume can easily turn into. Hi Shogo.
Hello, Billy. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Let's get started right ahead. First of all, I want you to introduce yourself briefly.
Thank you so much. I am really honored to have this opportunity. I am Shogo from a YouTube channel called Let's Ask Shogo. In my channel, I talk about literally everything about Japanese culture and history, and of course kimono. You can see some katanas and shakuhachi music or no theater and such. I always try to make just educational and fun videos for you to be able to enjoy Japan more.
We are literally just gonna ask Shogo what you think about when people want to wear a kimono as a Halloween costume. And I'm talking about Japanese people doing this in Japan. I rather think about people living in Britain or the US and they want to wear a kimono as a Halloween costume.
So I do get such questions a lot too. Like, I'm not Japanese. Is it okay for me to wear kimono in general, not just for Halloween? But I personally feel that in the end, kimono is a type of clothing, right? So I personally feel that everyone has the right to wear whatever they want to. And also kimono too, even if it's for Halloween, if it's for daily wearing, I believe that everyone can freely wear a kimono if they want to.
Yeah, you don't think like as a costume, like in Japanese you would not say, you would say rather katsu for it. You don't think like as a costume it's like bad or it doesn't make you feel like hurt in any way?
I personally don't at all, actually. Again, I think that everyone is free to wear the kimono if they want to. And I mean, I'm actually rather honored and happy that everyone are interested in the culture in the first place. Yeah, no matter which way it is, I mean, I think it's really nice that everyone is interested and wants to choose kimono as something to wear for fun.
As a Halloween costume, do you think there are any boundaries? Is there anything you think you can do this, but rather not that kind of thing?
So that is one thing I actually wanted to talk with you about this topic. So I just said that everyone is free to wear whatever they want to, the way they want to and such, but also at the same time, personally, completely personally, I do feel that, for example, the kinds of so-called kimono, they have a lot of skin exposure. Yeah. Sometimes, like oiran kind of stuff. That I personally feel if you're going to be considering that as a kimono, I personally feel that's a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest. I mean, a lot of Japanese people do it too. A lot of Japanese people go to, photo taking with those kind of kimono with their shoulders completely out and everything. But did anyone in the past actually wear the kimono like that? Even the oiran did not wear it like that, obviously. That, I guess, I personally would feel a little bit uncomfortable if someone called that a kimono as a costume.
So while we were already on the topic, like what do you think when someone says, I want to wear a kimono and being dressed like a geisha? Like having a normal kimono as a part of a geisha costume. How do you feel about that?
That's another difficult one. I mean, again, if someone is interested in geisha and are curious about the culture, that's really great. We're really honored. But also at the same time, not just geisha. For example, I see a lot of in dramas, maybe a little bit older movies and such. People like put these big cushions on their bodies and call themselves sumo wrestlers, and they like bump into each other, with the big cushions on their bellies and such. I mean, I understand that it might look like that on the surface. Geisha, for example, as you said, it might be the white makeup, the red lipstick and the hair and the kimono, the gorgeous kimono might be what you see on the surface, and that's completely fine to just mimic the surface. But also, if you're interested in geisha in general, as a Japanese person, I would love you to learn more about the depth of the culture too, and all of the vigorous trainings they have to go through to be able to wear such kimono and walk outside like that, right?
Yeah.
So I would say it's completely, again, okay, yeah, but there is more that you can learn about it. And if you're really interested, if you really want to respect a culture, not just Japanese culture, if you want to respect a culture, it'd be great if you can continue studying about it too, I would say.
You already talked about the weird costumes for oiran and stuff like that. I mean, there's, by the way, sold in Japan too. I went yesterday to Don Quixote to check them out. Oh my gosh, I was
saw that, yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that.
I really wonder if any Japanese is actually going to wear that, because Japanese in general don't really expose their skin, don't you think?
Maybe it's for some Halloween party that university students want to do, or I don't know, young kids want to do, I guess. I have no clue, actually.
What does it make you feel when stuff like that is sold outside of Japan and people think that is actually a kimono and that is actually how oiran were dressed like?
So, that's something that's really similar to everything else too, isn't it? I mean, like, for example, the katana too. There are lots of katana is sold outside of Japan as well, just as the kimono are, yeah. So again, I mean, it's completely impossible to try to prevent all of that from happening. Yeah, someone will start selling kimono or whatever it is, even if it's not real. So if you are the kind of person who wants to try to be as authentic as possible, it would absolutely be important that you take a look at videos like your YouTube channel to learn more about it, Yeah, and not just believe something on first sight. Yeah. If that's like your option, if that's your budget, that's completely fine, of course, again. I'm sorry to repeat myself many times, but if you want to respect the culture and learn more, it's absolutely important that you try to search for more information than just one product or one person.
By the way, I like your channel about that because my channel is mostly focusing on kimono only, but your channel is way more digging deep into different parts of Japanese culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
I go all over the place, yeah.
I think no one is watching this video without knowing you, but in case you don't know Shogo yet, please give him a subscribe and watch his video. They're very educational. Do you, by the way, think there is a difference between non-Japanese choosing such a costume and Japanese using choosing such a costume to wear? Do you think anything is worse, or do you think it makes a difference just because someone is Japanese or not?
That I want to make it really, really clear that it does not make a difference at all. Yeah, it depends on how much love, respect, experience you have towards the culture. It really does not depend on where you're originally from.
You were living in the US for a while, weren't you?
Exactly, for 6 years, from 5 to 11 years old.
Did you experience Halloween parties? Did you go to one?
Of course I did. Yeah, when I was in the US in Michigan, every year I had a costume.
What did you dress up like? What was your favorite costume?
When I was a boy, I loved swords, So when I was looking through, the catalogs to buy the costumes, I would choose the ones that would come along with the plastic swords. So it was really funny how I was actually choosing ninja costumes for Halloween.
Oh my gosh, you did?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know at that timing that ninjas originally from Japan or anything. I was like 5 or 6 years old around there. Yeah, but I just looked at it. This one looks cool. And I chose a ninja one actually. And everyone was like, "Oh, Japanese dude is wearing ninja,a," kind of thing.
That's so on point. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have anything else you want to touch upon this topic that I might have?
I was actually discussing with my wife Harumi, who also shows up in our videos once in a while. But she was saying that as she was taking a look at some of the pictures of people wearing kimono and dressing up as a Halloween costume, there are a lot of people who have the komote. Billy, do you know what komote is? Yeah, it's the very typical no theater masks. They're white ones with very skinny eyes and the red lipstick and everything. A lot of people consider that as a horror mask, because it does show up in a lot of horror games and such. But I actually am a person who trains in no theater too, in no theaters. So I do want more people to understand that the komote, the very typical mask, is actually, in the past, it represented beautiful young women.
Oh, yeah.
And also, you can also say that the hanya, the very famous hanya mask, the oni mask, is also a woman too. Yeah, with a lot of grudge. Yeah, exactly. So I do want more people to know about that. A lot of people think it's just a horror ghost mask, Sometimes they do represent ghosts, but originally it represented beautiful young women.
Oh, that was a super interesting point. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm glad you say so.
This video is going to get too long if we talk a tiny bit more. So I think we're good for now. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This was great.
And again, I just really want to make clear that this video is not talking about if it's okay to wear a kimono in general, because as it's already stated, wearing a kimono is not the problem. The question of this video is it appropriate to turn a kimono into a Halloween costume or wear it as a part of a Halloween costume? So let's ask exactly that question to my next guest. Welcome back, Roza.
久しぶりだね。
久しぶりです。Last time we did a video in Japanese actually because Roza is Japanese.
1.5 years old Japanese.
But you're actually born and raised in the US?
I was born in Eastern Europe, in the Republic of Georgia, actually. But then I moved to the US when I was little, and so I had the US citizenship for most of my life.
Which means you also lived in the US and you also have experienced Halloween there, right? Did you like it? What's your overall experience with Halloween?
When I was living there, I did like it, because it was kind of that time to really go over the top with what you wear and like dress up and just be really, really unique and stand out.
I totally jumped over your introduction. You have to introduce yourself still.
Oh, okay.
So I hope some of my viewers remember you from our really cool video we did together.
I am Akino Roza. My first name is Rosa, but I just say it in the Japanese order just because it's too much trouble. I've been in Japan for 11 years, and I'm largely involved in like traditional culture, and I've done tea ceremony for a long time. Now I wear kimono, collect antique kimono and accessories, and also do nihongami, which is like the traditional hairstyle that you usually see nowadays only on Maiko, but it's not a strictly Maiko style of hair.
Let's jump right into the topic. So what do you think of non-Japanese people outside of Japan choosing a kimono as a Halloween costume?
For me, it's pretty clear cut. Like, I don't think kimono is appropriate for a Halloween costume. I do think it's totally fine to express a certain character that you're dressing up for Halloween as in terms of kimono. Like, in the same way you would use Western clothes to express that character, like you just use the kimono to express that character. That's totally fine. I don't think it's okay to use just dressing up as kimono to be a costume, because that's like using Western clothes, wearing your like jeans and a t-shirt, and you're like, I'm wearing a costume. You know, that's kind of weird.
But what do you think when it's a part of a geisha costume?
The idea of a geisha costume is not necessarily an issue for me, but the problem comes in because there's so many misconceptions about what that means and what they look like and all of those kinds of things. So, you know, like when you go to Kyoto, there's Maiko Henshin, and you can dress up as a Maiko and like go around and take photos. I don't think that's the same thing as Halloween, like dressing up for it as Halloween. Like the Maiko experience in Kyoto is basically very authentic or very close to it, you know, as the real thing can be very, very expensive. And so that's more of just like an experience. But in terms of like dressing up as a geisha for a costume, and especially like all the context that it comes with, especially if you're outside of Japan, and like the preconceptions and the stereotypes that people have, I just think the damage it does and the people it hurts is not really worth going out of the way to do that. You know, there's like the sexy doctor outfits, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, nobody has a problem with them. But the thing is, like, it's different, right? Like, it's not, it is a very cultural thing. It's very important to the Japanese culture. It's a serious thing. It's a serious discipline. It takes years and years of following that way to become a Maiko or to become a Geiko or geisha. And of course, doctor too. But it's just like a doctor is just so ingrained, like it's obvious. It's completely like a caricature of an actual doctor, right? Whereas like for these cultural related costumes, it's not just like breathing air. It's so common knowledge. It is quite a niche field of knowledge.
I think what you also tried to say, I guess I'm probably just reading between the lines, a doctor is not really tied down to a race, but like a geisha is definitely Japanese, and it, for me, it leads again into the sexualizing of Asian women.
Yes. Like, okay, you can say, I want to dress up be free to dress up as whatever I want. Okay, yes, I understand that. But like, do you really have to go that far when you see how many people it's hurting, when you know about the history of what happened to those people in the United States? You have to go that far? I don't think that's the fight you should be fighting, right? There's better things to kind of put your energy towards.
Do you have some piece of advice for people who still want, for example, try to dress up as a geisha or just want to wear a kimono on Halloween? I mean, you're against it, but is there something you think, when you do it like that, I could say it's okay?
Then make it be a kimono interpretation of Snow White. Like, make it be some character version of kimono, you know? And that's no problem. And also, I think there's that line of being careful about how you wear it, especially if you're not Japanese. The line of like making it into lingerie can get, you know, it can get offensive pretty fast. So I would say stay away from that. You don't have to do exactly correct kitsuke, like the putting it on exactly correctly, but like, you know, try to stick to some line of, you know, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, I think you want to say just try to keep it in a proper kitsuke. You don't have to overdo it, but like try to do it correctly. Watch probably one of my videos.
Take a lesson or two, you know?
Oh yeah, take a lesson with me.
So then I think if we get to the point of, okay, so who has the right to give permission to wear kimono as a costume or not, right? And then if you go and ask someone who's Japanese, either living in Japan or maybe even outside of Japan, it's important to understand that they will most likely not understand the context of how people outside of Japan, who are born and raised outside of Japan, feel about their culture, that maybe they are part of by blood, but for whatever circumstances, their grandparents were forced to throw it away, or they weren't able to learn the language because of all the racism and all the discrimination that their family faced, that their grandparents faced. So, of course, a person who's in Japan, you know, born and raised, is going to be like, oh, sure, yeah, kimonos for everyone. Why not? Go ahead.
Like my in-laws and my husband.
Like for wearing kimono, of course, both you and I highly support wearing kimono, learning how to wear a kimono, learning about kimono, and respecting the culture as you do it. But when you go to something that's basically, it's playing with the expression of the costume, right? It's an exaggeration. It's a cartoon almost. That is not a concept that someone who's Japanese, living and born and raised in Japan, will probably be able to understand, because it's just so outside of their environment. So context is very important. Yeah, that was my 2 cents on the permission aspect of it.
I find that really important, because you have to also ask more than one person, I think, to actually get a proper opinion on it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think I have slipped something? Is there something you want to still mention regarding this topic?
Not really something important, but because it's a Halloween themed chat, I did wear something that I wanted to show that's not visible in this.
I want to see, I want to see.
Ja-jan. Still can't tell. Can you see now?
Oh, it's a yokai. Oh my gosh.
It's a yokai.
Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah.
Maybe some of our viewers know, but maybe not. All of the spooky, scary stuff takes place in summer, actually, in Japan, which is very interesting. So this is actually, usually people would wear it, you know, in August. It kind of makes sense, because like you hear the scary stories and like you feel the chills down your back and you cool off. So it's perfect.
Thank you so much, Rosa, for being on this video. Thank you so much for sharing your opinion.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone, please follow her, link down below in the description box. And I'm gonna hopefully see you very soon.
Yes.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
So you probably know that Halloween is recently quite a trend in Japan. And let's check out what Japanese Halloween costumes are about. Let's see if they have some kimono stuff. I'm actually quite interested about that. Let's go. I need something to drink. That was worse than I thought. Are kids really gonna wear that? Are people wearing that in Japan? It's like, wow. By the way, the most disturbing one was actually for me the Miko-san, the Miko outfit. That is what I wear in my Juni Hitoe school, where I learned to put on Japanese imperial court gowns. And that is basically what I wear there as a school uniform. It was not even close to it. I mean, what was the red collar piece there? It's a wonder that I didn't find the weight on the worst, actually. That one was a close too. Okay, so let's go back home and talk to some of my friends and see what they think about wearing kimono as a Halloween costume. Hi Sana! So nice to see you again. It's also not your first time on my channel, isn't it?
I think so.
We did a live chat, I think 2 years ago, about the confidence to wear kimono. That was so awesome. So I thought I'm gonna ask your opinion on this topic too. But first of all, please introduce yourself.
My name is Sala Okabe. I'm a kimono stylist. I'm from Japan now, living in Australia for quite a long time, like 70 years. I'm now working as a kimono stylist and also owner of the vintage kimono shop in Australia.
In Australia, do you celebrate Halloween? Such a stupid question, probably, but I don't know.
Actually, it's a sort of a new culture. You know, it's getting bigger and bigger in the market. So I think it's pretty same as Japan. So we didn't have a Halloween that much before. Now it's huge market everywhere.
Do you celebrate Halloween, or have you been to a Halloween party yet?
I don't much, but yeah, actually it's more like a kids, the event.
What do you think of foreigners outside of Japan wearing kimono as a Halloween costume?
Personally think I don't mind at all. Why not? Because some people wear dress as to be a Cinderella or something. Why not kimono? So I just don't mind at all. Just having fun is okay for me.
Do you think that there should be any boundaries? Do you think there should be any regulations, or there should be a line that should not be crossed when wearing kimono as a Halloween costume?
I personally think I don't have any a regulation or thing like that. But even just gonna go to the some formal ceremony with the cosplay kimono, I don't think it shouldn't do that. So, but yeah, but as that just having fun and just a cosplay party, I don't mind at all.
So you don't feel hurt that people say, I'm gonna dress up like a geisha and then wear a kimono?
Well, actually, so I've been in Australia for quite a long time, but I just realized that people don't know about real geisha means. So just some people still believe just a Japanese lady who's wearing normal kimono like us, but they don't make a fool of it. So they don't know. Just some people just think of just a Japanese lady who's wearing kimono with just a white face or just like a small lipstick, something like that. It's called geisha, but we know what real geisha means. But I don't think they don't try to make fool of us.
They don't think they're not trying to hurt you in any way, But
No, I don't think so. Just I think I sort of feel some expression to try to get interested of the Japanese culture somehow. Yeah, I sort of feel some sort of appreciation for that.
would you be more happy when someone would do it properly? I mean, for example, my mom-in-law, when I asked her the same question, she
Yeah.
said, but foreigners are gonna wear kimono so weirdly. Would you appreciate it even more if they would try to educate themselves a tiny bit more? Or is there any piece of advice you would give them?
Started from just a cosplay, but what the fuck real geisha means? Like, what the real kimono means? Maybe they might start studying about more interested of the kimono in the future. So I think it's a cosplay that could be a good start to know some other culture.
I do think so too. I think people have to start somewhere. I personally don't think it should be definitely for Halloween, but I think it's actually, it's a good start to just get into it and get interested. So we were talking about mainly kimono right now. Have you seen those weird kimono-like costumes, like the costumes that are like labeled with oiran or miko on it? And like show a ton of skin and like weird makeup, and does it make you feel anything? What do you think when you see those costumes?
I wouldn't do it if someone asked me to do it. Yeah. Because I know what's real oil, but it's totally different. It's more like a cosplay that's having fun. So, but it's not my type of kimono. But some people might like that kind of costume, but just not my own business. So just enjoy, just the fake world. So
オイランの格好してる人とかは、あれ、日本人は誰が着るのかなね。
多分いつも日本っていう国はなんていうの同じ格好をしていつもしっかりしなきゃいけないっていうイメージがあるけどそのハロウィーンの時だけはその全然違う格好をしてクレイジーな格好してもいいっていう一日だけ許された日みたいな感じがするからその時にもうみんな全然違う格好をしてバーンと弾けちゃってるっていうイメージがあるかなっていう。
そうね、今日ローザと話しててローザも似たようなこと言ってました。アメリカでちょっとハロウィンにはちょっとクレイジーな格好できるからそれこそ着たいっていう。
許される日っていう感じそのことクレイジーになるのが。
でもそれもちょっとあるかもしれませんね。So you think that can be a beginning of getting into kimono too?
Hopefully, but yeah.
I mean, I have to be honest that a lot of guests in the video, they're saying either don't wear it or they're saying you can, of course, but try to educate yourself a tiny bit. You're basically saying, it's fine when you just have fun in the end.
Just having fun is okay. And I know about the professional work and the amateur work. So as a professional, I don't want to do it if someone asks me to do it because, but it sounds like amateur thing. So I can't say no for that, for just having fun. It's totally more like just a playing thing. So, but as a professional, I wouldn't do it.
Do you have any advice on people who want to wear a kimono as a Halloween costume?
It can be. It makes easier to do some Japanese theme anime cosplay, like a Demon Slayer or Yurei Obake, Japanese ghost, things like that. So the kimono could be one of the option to do like a Japanese, Japanese character things. But any advice, just try to be weird as much as you can.
I think that is super good advice. Just make it part of a costume and don't make the kimono itself your costume. Because I think it's going to make it more respectful how you use it and wear it.
Yeah, so I know my friend who's wearing the totally white kimono with a totally white obi, just with a long wig, just, front to back opposite, and just do all the Japanese ghost things. So totally scary. It was really good. So
I love that. That's so cool.
one advice: don't go to any formal occasion with the cosplay thing. It's totally different. So just for the having fun for the cosplay, or the going to the formal occasion is totally different. So
what you would say when someone wants to go to a formal occasion, please learn a tiny bit about it. So you would still say
exactly.
so in the end, you still say, oh, you can wear kimono on Halloween, but when you want to do something more with it, please learn about it.
Yes, that's exactly.
Okay, Salas, thank you so much for being on this video.
Okay, thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
And I'm gonna put all your information down below in the description box, and please everyone give Sala a follow and check her out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So even if the overall opinion of wearing kimono on Halloween is a yes or a no, there is this recommendation of putting it rather into a cosplay and learning a tiny bit more about the kimono so you can do it correctly, so you can properly judge if your costume is actually appropriate or not. Now I want to talk to my next guest, who is of Japanese heritage and living in the US, and she knows exactly how Japanese culture can be depicted falsely outside of Japan and how that impacts the society and also the Halloween costumes. Hi, Erika.
Hi.
Nice to meet you finally.
It's so nice to meet you. I've watched your Kitsuke content for so long, so I'm really excited to finally talk to you.
Thank you so much. There's a particular reason actually why I wanted you on this video and your opinion for it. So it's usually because of your background and what you're doing. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Erika. I'm Erika a la mode on social media. I'm a costumer and cosplayer, and over the last couple of years, I've gotten really into vintage kimono and learning more about my family's history and culture and stuff.
So let's go on to the topic. For me, it's really interesting because you're also a cosplayer, how you view this whole topic. And first of all, let's start right ahead. What do you think about wearing a kimono as a costume on Halloween?
You know, I think in an ideal world, we should be able to wear whatever we want. I think in an ideal world, we should all be able to participate in each other's cultures, and traditional dress is a huge element of that. I think that it's one of the most beautiful ways to get involved in a culture, especially when you're as into textile art the way that me and a lot of other costumers are. One of the most fascinating things is learning the history behind textile arts and stuff, learning the different manufacturing methods that other cultures have used and stuff. And so I think that in an ideal world, anyone should be able to wear kimono and enjoy that and stuff. I just don't think we live in that ideal world, and that's what makes it complicated. More often than not, when we see kimono as a Halloween costume, it's because it's being mocked. It's because people of color are being portrayed as a caricature. It's mocking and sexualizing and objectifying Japanese women, Japanese culture, Japanese people. And I think that when we see traditional dress as a costume, it's often because POC cultures are being appropriated for the profit of those who classed our cultures as lesser to begin with. And so it becomes a very painful experience to see your culture, which is oftentimes stripped away from you in so many different ways, both historically and in present day. And then to see that being used as a commodity for the benefit of others, like that becomes a very difficult and emotional experience. I think when you dress up in someone's traditional dress as a Halloween costume specifically, you're not dressing up as a character or a figure, you're making the costume Japanese person. And in doing so, you're essentially distilling an entire ethnic group down to a costume. And that's usually based off a caricature or a stereotype. And in a lot of ways, that's very reductive and offensive, and it can perpetuate harmful stereotypes about that particular ethnic group. And so it becomes dangerous as a whole. It's not just the direct implications of what you're wearing, it's the implications that it has for that ethnic group going beyond simply how you wear what you wear.
I totally agree with that. You basically said what I wanted to say in the end of this video, so probably I'm going to change what I'm going to say. What do you think about the kimono being part of a costume?
This is where my feelings get a little more complicated, because I think it'd be really cool to see more people dressing up as Japanese historical figures, Japanese fairy tale characters, Japanese like mythological characters and stuff. Like I have this dream of doing like an Amaterasu costume that would
oh my gosh.
Like she's one of my favorite like mythological figures, right? She's the Japanese sun goddess, and I think that the whole culture around worshiping her is so incredible. And in that case, doing a kimono would be the natural thing to do, right? Because you're portraying a Japanese figure from our mythology. And I think that it would actually be really cool to see that, because then it would be people taking an authentic interest in Japanese history, in Japanese culture, mythologies, all sorts of things like that. And that would be incredible, because that means people are really interested in our culture. Where I get a little more iffy is when it's one of those like sexy Japanese anime girls and they're like, oh, look at my sexy geisha kimono costume thing, and it's always like the really short cropped kimono and lots of boobs. When it's the parody of the Japanese girl and it's always the sexy infantile Japanese woman that's like, you know, a doll to be passed around and sexualized and objectified, then I don't think that using kimono is appropriate as a costume.
Do you think when someone wears kimono as a Halloween costume, should there be any boundaries, limitations, regulations? Is there any line that should be not crossed?
So I think if you're really set on wearing it as a Halloween costume, I would really err on the side of going more traditional and not as original take on kimono, because I think when you err on the side of more traditional, you won't run into the sexy geisha trope as much, and you won't run into the stereotypes as hard as you would with a more traditional, more authentic, more respectful portrayal. In general, I would advise that if you really want to get into kimono and Japanese culture, there are better times to do it than Halloween. Japanese people love to share our culture. We love when people are excited about our culture and take a genuine interest in authentic Japanese culture. Things like the Obon Festival or like Culture Day and stuff, like those are really cool times to get into kitsuke. And there are always like kimono rentals at festivals and stuff, and you can be dressed by experts and everything. You can take photos and stuff, and there will be Japanese food and dancing and music and taiko drummers and stuff. And you'll learn about our holidays, and you'll get to participate in all sorts of cool holiday traditions and stuff. And you'll get to do it with other Japanese people and with non-Japanese people who are also just genuinely interested in Japanese culture. And so I think that would be a much more appropriate time to wear kimono and stuff. So if you have your own kimono and you want a chance to wear it, like those festivals are a great way to do it. And you also get to learn so much more about Japanese culture that way.
Do you have anything else regarding the topic? Do you think I might have one issue slipped, or is there something you still want to mention about it?
So there was one point that I wanted to make on the geisha costume, particularly because I think when geisha costumes are sold in like Halloween stores, they're typically memoirs of a geisha costumes. And I think that really like digs under my skin, because I just remember reading that in high school and being the only Japanese girl in my class reading this book that was written by a white man presenting facts about Japanese culture as if they were the authentic portrayal.
Oh my gosh, wait, give me a second. You had to read that in high school?
I had to read that in high school, in my high school English class, junior year.
Who the heck would think that that is a good book to be read in a high school? I mean, like,
You know, I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but apparently my school was not the only one that taught it too.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
And they teach it as if that's an accurate portrayal of Japanese culture.
What?
They teach it as if that were an actual Japanese story and not written by a white man who stole the life story of a geisha and then interspersed like really strong Western Eurocentric morality onto it. And so like the thing that gets to me about the memoirs of a geisha costumes and stuff and the way that they're sold is because like that book really reinforces the prostitute geisha stereotype. And it essentially greenlights the objectification of Japanese girls by romanticizing the simultaneous like exotic sexuality of Japanese women and also the infantile victimization of them. So that really bothers me about the sexy geisha costume because that's how you see geisha sold in Halloween stores. The kimono Halloween costume is often like marketed on a mass manufactured scale as the sexy geisha. And that stereotype is so tied into like sexual violence directed towards Japanese women in like post-World War II society, that really digs deep at some long-standing trauma and a very painful time for Japanese women. And so for the sexy geisha costume to persist, it continuously reinforces this idea that Japanese women are nothing more than objects of sexual desire, that we are manufactured essentially for pleasure and consumption with no agency of our own. And that in turn impacts how men and society view Japanese women and Japanese girls and Asian women as a whole. And so I get this on a personal level with all the men who approach me at conventions and in cosplay and out of cosplay really, who tell me that they tell me all about their like Asian fetish that they've always wanted to have. Yeah. Oh, it's so creepy. And the men who see me in kimono and yell "me love you" long time at me across the park because I'm just trying to get some nice photos in a kimono. But I also saw that on a professional level because my background is in human rights and international relations, and particularly in anti-trafficking legislation. And so I've seen how this stereotype around the exotic, sexy, infantile Japanese woman directly impacts the safety of Japanese girls, and how that creates a demand for sexual encounters with Japanese girls and makes Asian children in general a desirable target for sex trafficking. So that when I say that I hate the geisha Halloween costume, what I really mean by that is that the sexy geisha Halloween costume digs deep at historical injustices against Japanese women, and it reinforces dangerous stereotypes about my community that puts Asian women and children at greater risk for sexual violence. And so I really strongly oppose the geisha Halloween costume.
By the way, I'm also asked on the street when I wear kimono in Germany, hey, how much do you cost?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a super important point. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that one up specifically just because I think when it comes to geisha costumes, so much of that on a scale outside of Japan is associated with memoirs of a geisha, just because that's people's really only perception of Japanese culture. And a lot of that is just Oriental fetishism, and it's really harmful.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much for your opinion on this. I'm going to put your information all down below in the description box. So please, everyone, give Erika a follow. It's not only nice kimono pictures, it's also a lot of super nice cosplay, like the one you really want to see. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for including me. This was a really interesting discussion to have, and I really enjoyed getting to meet you.
Thank you. Okay, then. See you. Bye.
We're at the end of this video, and I want to give my personal opinion too, and also a recommendation as a professional and licensed kimono teacher. I too think that you should not wear kimono as a Halloween costume. That's the most inappropriate. But I also think probably not as a cosplay or as part of a costume on Halloween, because there are better occasions to appreciate Japanese culture. All of the reasons is because of what Roza and Erika already said, so I don't have to repeat that. But another thing I want to add is keep in mind that also not only the context you're raised in, also the context you're gonna be in when you wear the costume is heavily influenced that. When I go to a Halloween party, or me as a born and raised German going to a carnival party in kimono, even though I'm gonna do it correctly, even though it's a really nice cosplay of one of my favorite anime characters, I'm going to be put into this context of, oh yeah, Japanese lady as a costume is nice. Oh yeah, the geisha outfit, awesome. That is a context I don't want to be put in, and I can't regulate or control that because people are just gonna do that with me without my consent. And I don't want to give the people the opportunity to do that. That is my very, very personal opinion on it. As a professional kimono teacher being trained and licensed in Japan, I recommend to think about time, place, and occasion you're gonna wear the kimono. That is really deeply engraved into the Japanese culture. When you choose your kimono, think about what time of the day are you gonna wear your kimono? What is the place you're gonna wear it to? What is the occasion you're gonna wear it to? And I think actually every Halloween party is a part of that. This TPO, time, place, occasion, as we call it, is really important in a kimono life, and it's going to be really important to learn in your kimono journey as you decide to move on and learn more about kimono culture. It will give you the knowledge to judge what kind of kimono is appropriate when, and what kind of styling and costume mixes or Western style, Japanese style mixes you can actually do when, what place, what occasion. And that is really, really important. So in the end, learning more and also thinking probably twice, thrice, or even 4 times about the choice of your costume for Halloween is definitely more than recommended. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here and you want to learn more about kimono from a professional kimono teacher, feel free to subscribe. I would be really happy to have you here. If you like this video, it's getting dark here, but I'm gonna finish talking. Tell me in the comments, leave a thumbs up or share this video also with your friends so the word can get spread. Please follow all my friends that have been guests in this video. I thank them all so much for being in it and giving their true opinion of what they think about wearing a kimono on Halloween. I hope I see all of you in my next kimono adventure. Bye! Quite spooky in the end, huh? That's the good part of filming on a cloudy day.